The phone vibrated sharply on the desk, cutting through the quiet hum of a late Seattle evening. Aiden Clark, 38, founder of a rising tech startup, had just returned from a charity gala where he'd awarded scholarships to 3 promising students. His speech, earnest, hopeful about giving back to the community, had earned a standing ovation. Now, as he skimmed through emails, the phone's buzz felt like a jolt. An anonymous message glowed on the screen. Asterisk if you want the truth, go to Blue Haven restaurant now. Back table. Asterisk no name, no context, just a command that sank into his gut like a stone. Aiden stared at the words, his elf, his thumb hovering over the screen. Spam, maybe? A prank? But the specificity, Blue Haven, a place he hadn't visited in years, gnawed at him. His wife, Leah, had texted earlier, saying she'd be at a friend's house, catching up over coffee. It sounded routine, unremarkable. Yet something in the message's cold precision made his pulse quicken. The truth. What truth? Deep down, a flicker of dread tied itself to Leah, to their 10 years of marriage, to the life they'd built. He grabbed his keys and headed out, the night air sharp against his skin. The drive to Blue Haven was short, just 10 minutes through Seattle's drizzle-slick streets. Aiden's mind raced faster than the car. He and Leah used to come here early in their relationship, celebrating anniversaries, toasting promotions. Those memories felt distant now, like snapshots from someone else's life. He parked a block away, instincts kicking in. No need to draw attention. He stepped out, the neon sign of Blue Haven casting a faint blue glow across the pavement. His heart thumped, not with fear, but with a strange clarity, as if his body already knew something his mind hadn't caught up to. Inside, the restaurant hummed with quiet chatter and clinking glasses. Aiden slipped past the hostess, avoiding eye contact, and moved toward the back, sticking to the shadows. He scanned the tables, his breath shallow. Then he saw her. Leah sat at the far corner table, her posture relaxed, a soft smile playing on her lips. Across from her was a man Aiden didn't recognize. Clean-cut, confident, leaning in too close. Their hands brushed as they reached for their drinks, a gesture too familiar, too deliberate. Aiden's chest tightened. He watched, frozen, as Leah laughed at something the man said, her fingers lingering on the stem of her wine glass. Then it happened. She leaned forward and their lips met. A brief, intimate kiss, but it was enough to shatter the air around him. Aiden's hand trembled as he pulled out his phone. He didn't think, didn't hesitate. He snapped a single photo, the flash off, the image clear. Leah and the stranger caught mid-moment. His stomach churned, but he forced himself to stay steady. No confrontation, no outburst. He slid the phone back in his pocket and backed away, his steps silent but heavy. The restaurant's warmth felt suffocating now. He needed air, space, distance. Outside, the cold bit into him, grounding his spinning thoughts. He walked to his car, each step a decision. He wouldn't beg for answers, wouldn't demand explanations. He'd seen enough. But as he reached his car, something made him glance back. Through the restaurant's window, he caught the stranger's eyes locked on him. The man's expression wasn't surprise or guilt. It was calculated, almost smug. He leaned toward Leah, whispering something. Her face shifted instantly, the smile gone, her eyes darting toward the exit. She didn't move, didn't chase after him, but her body tensed, as if a switch had flipped. Aiden's grip tightened on his keys. That look, that whisper, it wasn't just a betrayal. It felt like a plan. He drove home in silence, the photo burning a hole in his pocket. The house was dark, Leah's untouched coffee mug still on the counter from that morning. Aiden sat in the living room, staring at nothing, the weight of the night settling in. He didn't cry, didn't rage. Instead, a cold resolve took root. Leah had made a choice, and so had the man with her. But Aiden wasn't powerless. He'd built his company from nothing, faced down investors and competitors with steel in his spine. This was no different. The truth, whatever it was, would come out, and he'd face it on his terms. Aiden Clark sat in his home office, the photo from Blue Haven still searing in his mind. The image of Leah's kiss with the stranger looped relentlessly, but he pushed it aside, channeling the hurt into focus. He wasn't the type to lash out or drown in self-pity. Aiden had built his tech startup, Nexus Innovations, from a garage idea to a multi-million-dollar enterprise through calculated moves and unshakable resolve. This betrayal was just another challenge, one he'd tackle with precision. By morning, he'd made his first call. Sarah Wilson, a Seattle-based divorce attorney known for her razor-sharp strategies. Her reputation preceded her. She'd dismantled high-profile cases with airtight evidence and unflinching logic. Aiden sent her the photo and a brief account of the night before. Sarah didn't waste time with pleasantries. "We move fast, document everything, and assume nothing," she said over the phone. "If Leah's playing games, we'll be 3 steps ahead." Aiden liked her already. Sarah's first move was to dig into the couple's financial history. Within hours, she uncovered something that made Aiden's jaw tighten. Leah had attempted to transfer $50,000 from their joint savings account 2 weeks earlier. The bank had flagged it as suspicious, requiring both signatures, so the transfer failed. Leah hadn't mentioned it, hadn't even hinted at needing funds. The timing wasn't random. It aligned with late-night texts Aiden now recalled seeing on her phone, one she dismissed as work stuff. Sarah flagged the account for monitoring and advised Aiden to freeze all shared assets immediately. He didn't hesitate. By noon, Aiden had canceled Leah's access to their joint credit cards, one for daily expenses, another tied to subscriptions. He suspended her gym membership, streaming accounts, and even the shared cloud storage she used for photos. Each action was methodical, not vengeful. Leah had drawn a line with that kiss. Aiden was simply enforcing it. Sarah ensured every step was documented, time-stamped, and backed up for legal scrutiny. "If she wants to fight, we'll have a paper trail," Sarah said. That evening, Aiden's phone buzzed again. Another message from Leah. Asterisk, "I'm staying at a friend's for a few days. Need space." Asterisk, no apology, no explanation, just a curt deflection. Aiden didn't respond. Instead, he forwarded it to Sarah, who noted it as evidence of Leah's intent to distance herself. But something else gnawed at him, the stranger's smug glance at the restaurant. It wasn't just an affair. That look felt like a chess move, like the man knew Aiden would be there. The anonymous message wasn't random either. Someone had orchestrated this, and Aiden needed to know who. Sarah's team ran a background check on the man in the photo, cross-referencing it with public records and social media. His name was Nathan West, a financial consultant with a polished online presence but a trail of shady deals. Clients had accused him of skimming funds, though nothing stuck legally. Nathan frequented Seattle's elite circles, the kind of events Aiden and Leah once attended together. Sarah's hunch was immediate. He's not just a fling. He's after something, likely your money. Aiden's startup was valued at $80 million, a tempting target for someone like Nathan. The next day brought a bombshell. Sarah's forensic accountant found a hidden email account Leah had used to communicate with Nathan. The messages, recovered from a cloud backup Leah hadn't deleted, detailed a plan to siphon funds from Aiden's company during the divorce. Nathan had advised her to push for a quick settlement, claiming Aiden's emotional neglect would sway a judge. The emails were clinical, almost businesslike, as if their marriage was just a hurdle to clear. Aiden read them in silence, his hands steady, but his pulse racing. This wasn't just betrayal. It was a calculated heist. Sarah laid out the strategy. Stay calm, stay silent, and build an ironclad case. "They think you'll react emotionally," she said. "We'll let them think that while we lock down everything." Aiden agreed. He instructed his company's CFO to audit all accounts and flag any unusual activity. He also tightened security on Nexus Innovation servers, suspecting Nathan might try to exploit his access to Leah. Sure enough, a login attempt from an unfamiliar IP address was blocked that night. It traced back to a co-working space Nathan was known to use. As Aiden prepared for the next steps, his phone lit up with a call from a mutual friend, Emma, who sounded uneasy. "Leah's saying you cut her off without warning," she said. "She's upset, Aiden. Can't you talk this out?" Aiden kept his response short. She asked for space. "I'm giving it to her." He didn't mention the photo or the emails. Let Leah spin her story. He'd stick to facts. Emma's call wasn't the only one. Others reached out, some sympathetic, some accusing him of being cold. Aiden deflected them all. The truth was his weapon, and he'd wield it in court, not in gossip. By the end of the week, Leah's lawyer, Eric Crow, made contact. His email was formal but aggressive, demanding emergency financial support for Leah, claiming Aiden's actions had left her stranded. Sarah smirked when Aiden showed her. "They're testing you," she said. Let's respond with her own words. She drafted a reply, attaching Leah's text about needing space and the failed $50,000 transfer attempt. Every move was deliberate, a counterpunch to Leah's narrative. Aiden felt the ground shift, not in his favor yet, but toward clarity. Leah and Nathan thought they'd outmaneuvered him. They were wrong. Aiden Clark sat across from his lawyer, Sarah Wilson, in her sleek Seattle office, the city's skyline a gray blur outside. The photo from Blue Haven, Leah's kiss with Nathan West, lay on the table, a silent accusation. It had been a week since that night, and Aiden had moved fast. Bank accounts were frozen, shared credit cards canceled, and every digital access point Leah once had was locked. Sarah's eyes scanned the documents Aiden handed over. Bank statements showing Leah's attempt to transfer $50,000 to an unfamiliar account just days before the restaurant incident. She planned this, Sarah said, her voice steady but sharp. But we're not playing defense. We're taking control. Leah's response came swiftly, a divorce filing, accusing Aiden of emotional neglect and demanding half his tech startup's equity. Her lawyer, Eric Crow, painted her as a devoted wife blindsided by Aiden's sudden financial cutoffs. The claim stung, but Aiden didn't flinch. He'd built his company, Neural Path, from a garage coding project into a multi-million-dollar enterprise before he even met Leah. It was his, untouchable by law, and Sarah was ready to prove it. But the real threat wasn't the courtroom. It was the whispers creeping into Aiden's professional world. Anonymous emails started hitting Neural Path's board. Vague allegations of mismanaged funds and unethical leadership surfaced, each carefully worded to spook investors without hard proof. One major client paused the contract, citing concerns. Aiden's team rallied behind him, but the damage was real. Trust was fraying. He traced the email's IP to a co-working space downtown, a lead that pointed to Nathan West, the man from Blue Haven. A financial consultant with a slick reputation, Nathan had a history of cozying up to wealthy clients. Aiden's gut told him Nathan wasn't just Leah's lover. He was after Neural Path itself. Sarah dug deeper, pulling public records on Nathan. His name popped up in a string of failed ventures, each tied to shady deals and burn partners. He's a leech, Sarah said, handing Aiden a file. He's using Leah to get to you. But Aiden wasn't convinced it was that simple. Nathan's smug look that night, the way he'd whispered to Leah, it felt personal, orchestrated. Someone wanted Aiden to see them, to break him. The anonymous message that led him to Blue Haven wasn't Nathan's style. It was too reckless, too spiteful. Then came the twist. Sarah's investigator uncovered a burner phone linked to the anonymous text. It wasn't Nathan's. It belonged to Claire Morgan, Nathan's former business partner and ex-lover. Claire had been ousted from their last venture after Nathan siphoned funds, leaving her with nothing but resentment. She'd known about Nathan's affair with Leah and sent the message to Aiden, hoping to spark chaos. Her plan wasn't to save Aiden. It was to ruin Nathan. She'd miscalculated, though, not expecting Aiden's restraint or Sarah's precision. Claire's involvement flipped the script. Aiden now had proof of a broader scheme. Leah and Nathan weren't just cheating. They were colluding to destabilize his life and seize his assets. Sarah filed a counterclaim, citing Leah's financial maneuvers as evidence of bad faith. The bank transfer attempt, paired with Nathan's smear campaign, painted a damning picture. Aiden didn't stop there. He hired a cybersecurity firm to audit Neural Path's systems, ensuring no further sabotage. The audit caught 2 suspicious login attempts from an external IP. Nathan's, trying to access employee records. Outside the legal fight, pressure mounted. Mutual friends called Aiden, urging him to reconsider cutting Leah off, claiming she was struggling. One even mentioned her new friend, Nathan, as if it were casual gossip. Aiden listened, said little, and kept his focus. Sarah warned him, they'll try guilt next. Don't bite. She was right. Leah sent a tearful email, begging for a meeting to explain. Aiden forwarded it to Sarah without replying. The email's timestamp matched a withdrawal attempt from an old joint account, a move Sarah had already flagged and blocked. Aiden's clarity grew sharper with each move. This wasn't just about betrayal. It was a calculated assault on everything he'd built. Yet Claire's role as the anonymous tipper gave him an edge. Her bitterness had exposed Nathan's game, and Aiden wasn't about to let it go to waste. He instructed Sarah to prepare for court, focusing on Leah's actions and Nathan's interference. The photo, the bank records, the burner phone, all pieces of a puzzle that would bury their lies. For the first time since that night at Blue Haven, Aiden felt the tide turning. He wasn't just surviving, he was fighting back. Aiden Clark stood outside the Seattle courthouse, the morning air crisp and heavy with the weight of what lay ahead. The past weeks had been a storm of calculated moves. Sarah Wilson, his lawyer, had built an airtight case, stacking evidence like bricks. The photo from Blue Haven, Leah's attempted $50,000 transfer, Nathan West's smear emails, and the burner phone tied to Claire Morgan. Today, the courtroom would decide the fate of Aiden's marriage and his company, Neural Path. He wasn't nervous, not anymore. The shock of Leah's betrayal had hardened into resolve. Inside, the hearing began with Eric Crow, Leah's lawyer, spinning a tale of victimhood. He claimed Leah was a loyal wife, abandoned by Aiden's abrupt financial cutoffs. Crow presented overdue bills and a sob story about Leah's struggle to survive. Sarah didn't blink. She stood, her voice calm but cutting, and dismantled the narrative. She projected Leah's divorce demand text, time-stamped before Aiden's actions, proving Leah had initiated the split. Next, she showed the bank records, highlighting the unauthorized transfer attempt. The judge's pen moved steadily, noting every detail. Sarah didn't stop there. She introduced the anonymous emails targeting Neural Path, traced to Nathan's IP, and linked them to his history of financial scams. The courtroom stirred as she revealed Claire Morgan's burner phone, exposing the spiteful tip that had led Aiden to Blue Haven. This wasn't a marriage falling apart, Sarah said. This was a coordinated effort to undermine my client's life and business. The photo of Leah and Nathan's kiss appeared on the screen, not for drama, but to establish intent. Leah's eyes dropped, her hands gripping the table. Crow countered, accusing Aiden of vindictive overreach by freezing accounts. He argued Leah deserved half of Neural Path's profits, claiming her support during its growth entitled her to equity. Sarah was ready. She presented Neural Path's founding documents, signed years before Aiden met Leah, and financial records showing no contributions from her. The judge raised an eyebrow at Crow's weak rebuttal. Then Sarah dropped a bombshell. A property Leah had purchased in secret, funneled through a shell account 2 years prior, uncovered by Sarah's team. The judge's expression tightened. Bad faith was undeniable. Outside the courtroom, the attacks on Aiden intensified. A blog post, posted anonymously, accused Neural Path of ethical violations, gaining traction among smaller investors. Aiden's team traced it to a server linked to Nathan's consulting firm. He didn't panic. Sarah had anticipated this, advising Aiden to counter with transparency. Neural Path issued a public statement, backed by an independent audit, clearing all allegations. The blog post's credibility crumbled, and the client who'd paused their contract signed back on. Aiden's steady hand reassured his team, but he knew Nathan was still out there, scheming. Leah's allies kept up the pressure. A former mutual friend, Mark, called Aiden, pleading for compassion. He claimed Leah was lost and needed support. Aiden listened, then hung up. Sarah had warned him about manipulation, and Mark's call coincided with another blocked attempt by Leah to access a forgotten joint account. Every move she made was tracked, every email forwarded to Sarah. The pattern was clear. Leah and Nathan were desperate, their plans unraveling as Aiden's defense tightened. The judge called a recess, and Aiden stepped outside, his phone buzzing with a text from an unknown number. "You'll regret this." He forwarded it to Sarah without a word. She traced it to a prepaid phone, likely Nathan's, and added it to the evidence pile. Back in the courtroom, Sarah pressed the advantage. She presented a timeline: Leah's divorce demand, her secret property, Nathan's emails, and Claire's tip. "My client acted to protect his assets after discovering a betrayal," Sarah said. "The other side's actions show greed, not grievance." The judge's ruling came swiftly. Leah's claim to Neural Path was denied. Its founding predated the marriage. The secret property purchase was deemed bad faith, nullifying her alimony demands beyond a minimal amount for basic needs. Nathan's role wasn't directly penalized, but the judge noted his questionable involvement for the record. Leah left the courtroom silent, her lawyer trailing behind. Aiden felt no thrill of victory, only relief. The company he'd built, the life he'd earned, was safe. But the real fallout was just beginning. Word spread in Seattle's social circles. Leah's affair, her failed schemes, Nathan's retreat. Mutual acquaintances stopped calling Aiden. Nathan vanished, his consulting firm's website offline within days. Leah, stripped of the wealth she'd chased, faced mounting bills and a tarnished name. Aiden, meanwhile, turned his focus to Neural Path, scheduling meetings to rebuild investor trust. The courtroom win wasn't the end. It was the foundation for starting over. Aiden Clark walked into Neural Path's Seattle headquarters, the hum of his team's work grounding him. The courtroom victory was 3 weeks old, but its echoes lingered. The judge's ruling had protected his company, denied Leah's claim to its equity, and limited her alimony to a bare minimum after her secret property purchase exposed her deceit. Nathan West, her accomplice, had vanished, his consulting firm's digital footprint erased. Yet Aiden felt no urge to celebrate. The betrayal had carved a hollow space in him, one he was only beginning to fill. He threw himself into work. Neural Path's reputation, briefly shaken by Nathan's smear campaign, was rebounding. Aiden met with investors, presenting the audit that cleared the anonymous allegations. A major client, previously hesitant, signed a new contract, boosting the company's stock. He also launched a scholarship program, funding 10 local students to study tech, a nod to the charity gala where this all began. His team noticed the shift, less warmth in his voice, but more focus. Aiden wasn't the same man, but he was still their leader. Leah's unraveling was swift. Word of her affair and failed schemes spread through Seattle's tight-knit social circles. Invitations to events dried up. Her name, once tied to Aiden's success, now carried whispers of betrayal. She'd moved to a small apartment. Her credit cards declined, her lifestyle a shadow of what it was. A mutual acquaintance, unaware of the full story, told Aiden she'd been seen alone at a cafe, scrolling through job listings. He didn't react. Her choices had built her cage. Nathan's exit was even starker. Claire Morgan, the ex-partner who'd sent Aiden the anonymous tip, hadn't stopped at exposing him. She leaked Nathan's shady deals to a local business blog, detailing his history of fraud. His clients dropped him, and a pending lawsuit from a former partner surfaced. Aiden learned this from Sarah Wilson, who'd kept tabs on Nathan's downfall. He thought he'd win by breaking you, Sarah said. He didn't count on Claire. Aiden nodded, unsurprised. Nathan's greed had been his own trap. The final piece fell into place when Sarah uncovered a last attempt by Leah to salvage her position. She'd reached out to a tabloid, offering a tell-all about Aiden's cruelty. The outlet contacted Aiden for comment, but Sarah shut it down, threatening legal action with the courtroom evidence. The story never ran. Leah's final play, public sympathy, collapsed under the weight of her own actions. Aiden didn't gloat. He'd won not by sinking to her level, but by staying above it. One evening, Aiden met with a board member, Elena, who'd stood by him through the crisis. Over coffee, she shared what she'd heard. Leah had approached Nathan weeks before the Blue Haven incident, proposing they target Aiden's wealth. Nathan, seeing a chance at Neural Path's millions, had agreed, underestimating Aiden's legal defenses and Claire's vengeance. Their plan hinged on Aiden crumbling emotionally, but he hadn't. Elena leaned forward. You didn't just save your company. You showed them who you are. Aiden's phone stayed quiet now. No more pleading calls from friends, no cryptic texts. He'd cut ties with anyone who tried to guilt him into softening toward Leah. Sarah had been clear. Closure comes from action, not apologies. Aiden took it to heart. He donated a portion of Neural Path's profits to a community tech hub, ensuring his wealth served a purpose beyond himself. It wasn't about erasing the pain. It was about building something new. Leah's final message came a month later, a formal email through her lawyer agreeing to the divorce terms. No personal note, no remorse. Aiden signed the papers without hesitation. The marriage was over, legally and emotionally. He kept the Blue Haven photo, not out of spite, but as a reminder, trust, once broken, demanded vigilance. He locked it in a private file, alongside Sarah's case notes, and moved on. Seattle's skyline glowed as Aiden left the office one night, the city alive with possibility. He wasn't healed, not fully, but he was free. Leah and Nathan had gambled on his weakness and lost. Claire, driven by her own grudge, had unwittingly handed Aiden the truth. The moral was clear. Lies unravel, but integrity endures. Aiden's heart carried scars, but his conscience was clean. He'd faced betrayal, fought with dignity, and emerged whole, ready to rebuild on his own terms.